guys, what a world.
Oh, guys, what a world.
So, I'm gonna talk a little bit of trash tonight. So I just wanted to I just want to do an experiment real quick and see what happens if a 42-year-old white guy that's never rapped tries to put on a random beat and freestyle. Because partly because I'm sure you guys have seen these island boys. I call them the autistic giraffe brothers. Uh, I mean, one of the themes, and I'm not trying to I like rap and hip hop. I'm not trying to it's not about that. It's about where this stuff has gone. You know what I mean? It's about the entire pop culture. So I just want to be clear that I'm not I'm not trying to put down any of these styles. The issue I'm having is what's being done with these art forms definitely does not reflect the potential. And even when I was younger, like gangster rap, even like the worst of it was still at least clever. And all this stuff that I'm seeing, just to summarize before we get into the meat and potatoes of this stuff. Uh, People talking about it's a satanic ritual and everybody's they're killing people to appease the evil gods or whatever. And the reality is, if you get enough people that don't give a fuck about anyone together, bad shit is going to happen to people. It really is that simple. Like, I reviewed the concert footage because I was like, okay, if there's anything ritualistic going on, I'm gonna know, you know what I mean? And to my eyes, there was nothing really ritualistic or, and the thing is, I know music can carry some serious occult vibes. And when I say occult, I just mean this hidden influence, right? It's not necessarily bad. In fact, in my experience, most of the time it isn't bad. The agenda of most magicians is to, man, I should have just started this live stream. I'll probably edit this later so it just starts with this because I feel like I mean, is it okay that I have ideas bubbling up in my head? I don't believe that people just really just freestyle off the top of their head usually. I think it's like when a musician improvises, they have some kind of plan, and then you work within a framework and you slip in and out of it. But anyways, so I mean, just watching it, sure, there's some pyramids, there's a dove bursting into flames. But I mean, and the dove does symbolize peace. But I mean, I really didn't see anything other than, I mean, there's a little bit of darkness in the music, but it's supposed to be rap, and it's kind of gangster. It didn't really. I'm not familiar with the guy's music, but I really didn't sense. Not only did I not sense or see anything in the performance that indicated any kind of. What the fuck is that? Like somebody's sawing through the wall over there. Anyways, what the fuck? It's just not there. It's not present. And the other thing I was saying is that the energy, like when the Grateful Dead, for example, would get into these collective improvisational things, and everyone's high on LSD, and the collective mind would lock in, and there was this. I used to know the German word for it, but there's another word Gestalt, I guess. That's not the one I'm looking for, but it would cause this third eye cracking open, and you would hear the music would light on fire, and also really intense, weird, really intricate improvisations would suddenly erupt out of this group of seven people. It really didn't make any rational sense, and I didn't sense any kind of presence or anything like that at all with this guy's music. I think that what it is, I mean, I can't imagine being a promoter and thinking, okay, let's get a bunch of shallow idiots that don't think about anything but hoping that they're going to get famous on TikTok someday, that they're actually making people famous that barely speak coherently. And I mean, I've seen these Island Boy kids just mumbling and pointing at their watches and their grills over and over again, look at, and they're fanning their money and stuff. I cannot believe that we've gotten to the point where people celebrate that kind of just, I mean, in my world, that would be like ridiculously tacky. Like, it would be humiliating for me to like go on social media. And I mean, I'll joke about it. Like today, I posted, because we're one of our cryptos looking like it's going to do really well. You know, I posted that I was going to start like making toilet paper out of my recycled Lamborghinis or something, but like I'm obviously joking. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, I should give this a shot. You know, let's see what happens. If I try to just, I did listen to this beat a little bit, but I've literally never rapped before in my life, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna say. But you know, just before I continue, you know, tearing this stuff down, let's just see what I've got. Yo, driving in a stolen Bugatti, thinking about the Illuminati, screaming, "Beat me up, Scotty." There's no intelligent life here. Motherfuckers believe that alien lizard people are feeding on their fears. But let me be clear. If the situation was analyzed, it would be realized these lizard people would be so fucking fat by now they'd be paralyzed. I'm not trying to get myself ostracized, but I'm thinking maybe these people need to be sterilized or even euthanized. I mean, was that okay? So, you know, I'm just saying, I don't think it's that difficult. You know, yeah, was that a surprise or what? And the thing is, you know, the reason I'm able to do that probably is because, I mean, I've listened to Bone Thugs and Harmony for like probably a year straight out of my entire life. You know what I mean? Like, I really dig the style, and I don't want anyone to think that I was actually afraid to even do this and criticize these things, because I figured Karen would be, you know, out there watching with her broke down vagina calling me racist for saying anything negative about hip hop culture, right? I mean, it's really crazy the shit that is going on right now. And if you don't think they're trying to fuck with your heads, man, you're out of your mind. Look at AOC, right? She actually said that the climate problem is rooted in racism. Look, I have never tried to minimize racism or say that it's not a thing or any of that shit, man, but I don't see how in the fuck climate change is got its roots in fucking racism. I mean, it's like they're just trying to take their narratives and wind them all up into some shit, and I mean, it's just, it's baffling to me. And the thing is, like, a lot of real damage is being done, especially for a white guy. See, why you gotta be racist, Charles? Oh man. I mean, not only are human lives being lost, I mean, this has been going on forever, though. As long as we tolerate this culture, as long as people stay indoctrinated, as long as they stay brainwashed, kids are going to be dying for no good reason and for profit, which is what happened at this festival. It's what happens in every war. You know what I'm saying? It happens, you know, the pharmaceutical industry will kill people for profit, and people trust them to make their medicine that they feed to their children. You know what I mean? This is not... It's not funny anymore. And when I saw the size of that audience, I realized, like, man, we have still got a long ways to go. Because these people that are just completely hollow, void of any kind of spiritual awareness, any kind of self-awareness, any kind of purpose or direction in life, there are still a fucking lot of them. And they're extremely dangerous. They really are. I mean, can you imagine trampling a 14-year-old child to death? And it comes from this lack of self-awareness, and it comes from a culture that is promoting this mindless, empty, vapid, material insanity as something to be worshipped. And I mean, let me let this catch up for a second, you guys, because I realize it's been paused, so your chat's not going. And so, yeah, I mean, it's not like I really have a ton to say about this that's going to be new. I was seeing it all day, and I'm looking at the supposed satanic ritual, and it's like, I understand, man, life gets hard, it's uncertain, and people start creating all these fairy tales, and they start, believing in all these crazy ass stories because it gives them a sort of escape into an alternate reality. Yeah, but I don't think it was folks, dude. I think it was cops. I think it was the CIA, or, I mean, I'm not 100%. It could just be some whacked out person. I mean, I have known people that had, back in the day, that tried to get me to use dirty needles on purpose. You know what I mean? Like, this dude one time was trying to talk me into trying shooting meth, and I didn't want to do it. And then he shot up himself, and he threw the needle in a box of needles, and he's like, yeah, but you have to just take one out of the box. And I was like, I'm not gonna, what, And it happened again later when I was doing heroin. Dude, I just assumed that people would be cool, and I looked at the needle he handed me, and it had blood in it already. And I was like, oh my god. Like, normally I wouldn't have even looked. But another big thing about this, and if there is a suspicious element to it, it's not that the guy was, trying to sacrifice people. Well, Big C, with all due respect, I don't know that I really agree. I mean, at least I don't know that they were. I mean, anything that's dumb and evil like that, sure, it's okay. Satan's in charge of it. You could say that, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think it was like a sacrificial ritual. If anything, it was another step towards taking people's freedoms away, because they're saying, look, you can't gather in large numbers because these idiots are going to trample people. And they're going to stick needles in people's necks, and they're going to be transmitting disease, and shooting you up with dope when you don't want it and stuff. I am suspicious. I'm not saying that that's absolutely what happened, but I am suspicious that it was engineered in order to take freedoms away. I'm not, like I said, man, if there was some occult shit going on, it had nothing to do with those rappers, because they don't know a fucking thing about it. I'm telling you. At least they weren't like approaching it as if they did. You know what I mean? I mean, okay, look, let me phrase it the way that I would speak about this, right? Because I don't believe in Satan as like an active force, really. I think that there's positive charge and then there's negative charge, but that's not a moral qualification, right? It's, another way to think about it is that there is like matter and there's space, right? There's order and there's chaos. And what we think of evil and entropy only exists because of that chaos, and that is one of the reasons that people that really try to push for total control of everything, they often use like morality as a reason that we need to give up all of these freedoms. And yeah, I mean, the George Floyd riots, that was all suspicious as hell too, man. I mean, you've heard. I don't want to go into all that again, but you've heard what I've said about it. I mean, I definitely was weird, and I would say that if I was Black America, there was like 6 other martyrs they could have chosen that had clean criminal records that were totally innocent. Like, it just seemed like the media chose the martyr in order to create problems, right? It was like the perfect guy for the right-wingers that are actually racist and hateful to be like, oh, well, you're actually just, look at you, the liberals are just siding with criminals. It just all seemed too perfectly set up to be this organic situation. And I saw some hella weird video too, like I don't know if you saw the ambulance guys that came and got him were cops. They weren't, what is it, But anyway, so what I'm saying is that this hollow, empty, pointless culture, because I think that's really the fundamental thing, right? Crowley's answer of like true will solving all of this lack of homeostasis, all of this dissonance, right? I think that's really the fundamental thing. Preaching about love all day and all night it's great and wonderful, but I think at the end of the day, having people oriented around their own soul purpose is going to get us a lot farther, a lot faster to living in a world that is sort of conducive and congruent with the philosophy of love, right? That's what we really need to do. And so when you talk about Satan being in charge of that, okay, in a way, because all those people have no direction, they have no meaning in their life. Like, they wouldn't be listening to that fucking music, paying $320 to go. I mean, some of the beats were cool and shit, but what is that dude muttering about? I mean, it's just like, I don't care if something is offensive. I listen to Guar. Like, I mean, I'm not even gonna say some of the shit that is in those lyrics. It's hilarious, but it's artistic. You know what I mean? That stuff is just like, it's just awful. You know what I mean? And I can't imagine like idolizing something like that. I mean, I guess it's just the like, somebody needs to teach these kids that all that glitters is not gold, I guess, man. So I mean, and of course there's an upside to all this. I mean, there's really good things going on in my life, you guys. One of my big problems with like reach, I think, with social media and stuff is I haven't had money for ads, and like, you know, I need some merch, and you know, I need like, you have to have money to do anything, and it looks like we're finally getting out of the hole that we're in, which also, by the way, is going to empower me to speak a little bit more about financial literacy again on this channel, because I kind of stopped doing it because it just felt weird that, you know, here I am broke and trying to tell people to go get their shit together. It didn't sit right with me, you know what I mean? So that's why I kind of toned that shit down, but I think it is super important, and I think we all do need to be really focused on it, but I kind of wanted to just keep my mouth shut a little bit until I had actually started to really make sure I had my game together, and then I can start talking about it again. And, you know, there's something that I've really been thinking about already this week, is just that it's incredible to me that there are people that want money just for the sake of money. I mean, I actually had a conversation with this dude that I know that he's actually fairly cool and conscious, but he's English royalty. And he actually told me one time, I was like, so why do you just want more? Like, it doesn't, what do you want more for? And he's like, because then I have more. And I was like waiting for him to finish. And I'm like, but why? And he's like, because I have more. That's it. There was no more to it. And I don't understand. I don't understand why anyone would want more just to have more. And also when people tell me that like the elite, that they'll bomb countries even though they're already wealthy out of greed, I can't even process that. When you already have enough money to live the rest of your life, like, why would you have any kind of like motivation to fuck with anybody for any reason? I mean, I just don't understand, you know? So I feel like it's something that's hard for me to even speak on because I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, one of the reasons, honestly, like, I've had trouble getting ahead is because I cannot stop myself from giving money to other people that I know have a harder time getting it. It's not even that I have more money than them, because over the last couple of years I haven't had really any money. I mean, off and on, a little bit, but you know what I mean? Like, but we see all the time, like, what do you call them, like refugees from Argentina or Venezuela or all kinds of countries. Down here there's all these people are refugee, and they have kids crawling all over them, all dirty and shit. We got like $10, and I'm like, here's $3, you know? Because in my way of thinking is like, if I have enough to, like, I know we're gonna eat, and I'm smart enough to get more money somehow, why am I gonna let these people suffer? And the thing is, what we have to get through our heads is that the only way that we're going to change the world, really, is that we have to really integrate the fact that that whole, like, thing Jesus said about you have to love your neighbor as you love yourself, it has to be real. You know, like, you have to see the entire collective as an extension of yourself, and even that sounds like a narcissistic way to talk about it. I don't see why we even have to do that. You know, for me, maybe it makes it a little easier because I've had these experiences with, you know, ayahuasca, and just even as a child where I could almost see the universe through the lenses of, like, everything in the universe. And I've known since I was like 6 years old or younger that I mean, I can literally remember being a kid and like a toddler almost, and watching grasshoppers and thinking, before it's all over, I will have lived as every single thing that exists everywhere, and seeing it all from their perspective. You know what I mean? Like, I can remember thinking that as a child, and I'm pretty sure it's true. So why how are you going to cause any suffering? And not even that, but you're going to want to lift everyone up if you know that eventually you're going to have to walk through their shoes for an entire lifetime. Like, as one unified collective field of consciousness, right? And also assuming that time is not real. Set your clocks on fire today. Time, don't set them back. Fucking time isn't real. Just burn the motherfucking thing. Forget about it. Time isn't real, so you know you're gonna be from not only living the life and seeing from the point of view of everything that lives all at once, but all throughout all of eternity. You had better try to lift some shit up, whether it is a bug or even a god. Try to help him hold his head even higher. You know what I mean? That's what when Crowley said, "My prophet's feet will drag below the hells and they will raise up above the heavens." That's part of what he meant. It's about this consciousness extends from every available parameter to every other parameter. It's the whole shit, and you are it. And the thing is, you guys, like, sometimes when I talk to people that are still in that total matrix fucking zombie, brainwashed, indoctrinated lust, it seems like it's so hard to get through to them. The reality of it is that we all know this stuff, so it's really not that hard. I mean, kind of, but it's not out of the question that we could actually effectively communicate all this stuff to the people that need to hear it in such a way that they will actually snap out of it. And that's been happening and accelerating over the years. And I think that is, as I've said 150 fucking times since I started this channel, it is why our freedoms are getting taken away. I mean, if you guys have been paying attention over the last couple of years, I've called everything because I know the system, and therefore I can predict its behavior. It's just the same thing that a weatherman does, you know what I mean? But it's not, you're not going to, if you want that ability, you're not going to get it from listening to Alex Jones. You're not going to get it from David Icke. You're not going to get it from the fucking Bible. You know what I mean? Like, you have to train your mind. You have to educate yourself on all of the subjects that are relevant, from physics to metaphysics. You know what I mean? Like, you have to engineer, you have to take responsibility for your consciousness. You have to make your own evolution a conscious effort. And by the way, please support my efforts. We are demonetized, so we get no money for anything, and you can't just send me money through the chat. We have PayPal and Zelle and cryptocurrency and Cash App. We really do appreciate the support because we're trying to leave that crypto alone so it'll blow up, man. And if it does, and I have a lot of money, we're gonna do some crazy shit for sure. I really feel like that's the missing element for me to really be able to contribute to getting the ball rolling in my department in this sort of revolution. So it looks like we're getting there too, man. Hell exciting. But still, we need as much support as we can get. So please, if you can afford it, help us out. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That's why they are applying so much resistance. And the thing is, you guys, like, everything, there's not a grain of sand that's out of place in the universe. Like, my Navajo friends will tell you that everything that can happen is the only thing that, everything that happens is the only thing that can happen. I once told a Navajo guy that I was afraid to ride Harley Davidsons because my name's Harley, and God will kill you in these ironic, Ecuador still, ironic ways if you set yourself up. You know what I mean? Like, the bass player from the Allman Brothers was killed 10 years to the day in exactly the same way in the same spot as the guitar player. That is just like, they're both hit by a truck on a motorcycle in the same intersection 10 years to the day, 10-year anniversary. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, I'm not getting on a Harley. You know what I mean? And I told my Navajo friend that, and he was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, whenever it is your time, you're gonna die no matter what you're doing, where you are, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You might as well just ride bikes, jump out of airplanes, do whatever, because until your time is up, you're indestructible. You really are. You just have to just know that and just go. And I did Ecuador. Do I need to type it? Did you know? Here, Ecuador. So, and I'll give you guys a little bit of advice too that I learned from that same time period working with the Native Americans. One of the really the great strengths of the North American, the Navajo and the Dene, not the Dene or the Navajo, the Ute, the people that are in the desert Southwest. And I'm not trying to minimize what happened on the West Coast, but it is way easier to survive there. You know what I mean? There's salmon, at least there were, until the white man came and killed them all. There's berries, giant berries everywhere and shit, you know what I mean? Plenty of wild mushrooms, there's all kinds of food. In the desert Southwest, man, it's rugged as hell. So they really are warriors that have been through a lot. And there's a certain, we call it pride, but I don't think that's really the right way to speak about it. It's actually fearlessness. It's not pride, but it's got more to do with fearlessness. And during that period, I went through this process where I would go out every night and face all these different fears. I made a video about it called Mastering Fear. I might remake it because it's a really important story and it was a really early video. It's probably terrible. But I would go out and face a different fear every night for 7 nights. And I always left the house at the same time. I was doing this on autopilot, had no idea what was going on. But what I was learning is that if you absolutely do not have fear, you cannot attract the things that would harm you. And I went through a series of tests that absolutely proved that. But it has to be absolute. If it's, self-confidence, but I mean, it's different than the kind of self-confidence that like an average person would have. We're talking about a total lack of fear. And that's something that we really need during this time because it's really easy. I've done it really badly. It's really easy to get stuck in a sort of black hole of, we're up against such insane obstacles that it just seems like, how do you defeat the New World Order? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck are you gonna do if World War III? You know what I mean? It just seems like if worst case scenarios kind of play out right now, they're so indomitable that it's really easy to get down, and they're so powerful. They're watching everything. They profile all of us. Like, I mean, and it seems like the message that they're sending basically is that they absolutely are not going to just go away. And I think they know that that's what happens. They're being subjected to de-emphasis and de-evolution because they're not necessary anymore. And it's their front is an illusion. They're not really, at least the people behind them are not like these bumbling out of touch, like old dinosaur. That's definitely a facade. I doubt even that the ones that interface with us, like presidents and stuff, are really anything like they seem like they are. Which is something I wanted to mention, man. Getting back to the whole Illuminati lizard people thing. Look, it's not even that I don't think that there could be lizard aliens here. I mean, this is a big-ass universe. It's old as hell. There's all kinds of weird stuff, carved into rocks, and pyramids, and lines that can only be read from space, and I mean, who knows, really, But if you look at the minutiae of these theories, it gets a little bit stupid. It gets a lot of it stupid. And so, if Hillary Clinton, forget about the lizard people thing, the Satanist thing. Let's go to that one. Hillary Clinton is not a Satanist. No self-respecting Satanist would wear those trifling ass, frumpy fucking clothes. And, they talk about how they're drinking adrenochrome in order to stay youthful. And, where is the evidence that these people have any pride in how they look? Do you see Hillary Clinton with breast implants and plastic surgery and a bunch of makeup and shit? No. So where is the evidence of vanity? Like, it's really easy to discredit a lot of this stuff if you just think about it a little bit. Like, is it reflected in reality? Because here's the thing. When I say truth is self-substantiating, it also means that it cannot hide and it cannot be really veiled unless you are willfully engaging with the illusion, right? the truth is going to be evident with objective observation. You know, this is the great power of science. Yeah, well, I mean, you got to think about how they got there. You know, in the position of elite person. They're, yeah, they're definitely not. I mean, even George Bush's friends, George Bush Senior, Junior. You know, they said that the like bumbling, silly person that everyone thought, you know, that said shit like "Don't misunderestimate me," that was not real at all. That he was actually very, very clear and concise, and you know, I mean, I don't have to tell you guys, you know, and I don't want to waste your time. I mean, it's 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 really obvious that there's some serious hoaxing going on here. It couldn't really be much more paper thin at this point, and I think that's probably one of the things that scares me the most, is that it's truth is self-substantiating, and it's really easy to see. And so the fact that so many people are so apathetic, and then here's another angle that really sucks. I realized a little while back that the normies, like, we all think they just don't realize, they don't understand, they're too dumb or something. But I realized a couple of weeks ago it's not true. They just don't give a fuck. It's not gonna be them, they think, that's gonna get rounded up and put into concentration camps or whatever it is they're gonna do with all the dissenters. And you know, if there is a new world order and all this stuff, the normies, it's not that they don't know and don't care so much as just that they don't think they're going to get affected. And so when you're trying to motivate someone that is thinking that they are in the clear as long as they just don't act out, I mean, we really have our work cut out for us in that department. In fact, the Nazis at the Auschwitz, one of the things they did just to see what humans would do for small amounts of preferential treatment is that they offered the women an extra ration of soup if they would voluntarily walk the children to the death chambers. And so one of the great mistakes, I think, of the modern era is that people have adopted a very dangerously erroneous belief that the psychology that was taken advantage of in Nazi Germany is simply not present in people now. And so it can't happen here, but that's not true. Human psychology, although, you know, there is evidence that it evolves somewhat just like everything else in the universe, it's not really that different from what it was during the Dark Ages or at any other time in history. So I'm getting really tired, you guys. I hope that this was somehow helpful to all of you. You know, we're making a lot of progress. We really are. We are reaching a lot of people. Psychedelics are impacting a lot of people. But, you know, we just have to, I think all we can do is take a little bit of extra effort to try to reach out to people that are still, like, lost in this really hollow, shallow culture. And, you know, don't be afraid. Like, if you see somebody that has, you know, what is her name, Kylie Jenner, in their socials, just bitch slap them. It's okay, you know, it's not really violence. It's just necessary at a certain point. Yeah, okay, I'll talk about the Kabbalion for a few minutes, but let me bring up a PDF real quick because you know, my brain's just getting a little slow. So Also, we could do a bit of sort of like bibliomancy and see what we get at random. That would be cool if it was like a site that would just flip through stuff to random pages. Okay, well, you know what? Actually, what I'll say about this is that what it is in a nutshell, and the real value of it, is that metaphysics shouldn't really just be this sort of contemplation, this sort of dreamy, philosophical thing. You know, it should be your teacher, and if you are constructing your creations based on principles that are congruent with the laws of nature, if your mind and spirit are in homeostasis with the universal mind, you're not going to have incidents like that concert, basically, and you are going to be much more effective at any endeavor, and it is going to help protect you. And this is one of my big issues with the mainstream trend in spirituality, is that people want to sell you ideas that you want to pay them for, which means that you want to hear them. And the thing people want to hear the most is that you can get this instant result without a bunch of work. And so there's this constant manifestation thing. There are all these morons on TikTok with this sound that if you listen to it, you can manifest whatever. It's just painful. And the reality is that you may be able to come into this sort of mastery where you have a preternatural capacity to build, and the things that you build are informed by spirit, and so they are built to last, and they have meaning, and they have utility for the collective, and beauty, and you know, the power to elevate others, whatever is imbued in them. But it takes actually working towards having an understanding of these metaphysics. That's the value of the gnosis. It's not just a philosophical, or you know, like people are always, I see it in spiritual groups on Facebook all the time. People are like, "What God do we bow down to?" And it's like, man, don't bow down to anything. You don't need to bow down. What the fuck is with you people and that shit? You know, stop it. Like, you don't bow down to anything. Great Spirit hates it when you grovel. Haven't you seen the life of Brian? I mean, like God shows up and they're all, oh, you know, and he's like, stop groveling. I fucking hate groveling. And in my experience, it's true. And the Schwarz say that as well. That you know, you don't lay down and prostrate yourself before Great Spirit, or a lot better, man. The last couple of days, not so much, but you know, you don't do that. You sit up and you hold yourself with respect. You do not bring an impure offering before the altar of the Most High, because it's going to reflect it all back at you. It can't help it. It's just pure consciousness, and that's what it does. It's how it created the universe. So, you know, if you've got all this fear energy, it's probably not even going to approach you, and if it does, you're going to have a bad time. So, like, people really got it wrong, you know, and I know I kind of went off on a side tangent there, but I've been seeing so much of that, you know, and real spirituality is not about having a set of rules to try to artificially conform to. It's about catalyzing processes that cause organic changes, that the changes happen of their own accord, almost. I mean, you are willing this process. And so the Kabbalion, back to the Kabbalion, is basically a guideline, a very simple elucidation and pontification upon the finer points of gnosis and how to actually use this knowledge in your day-to-day life. I lost the PDF again, but here I'll go through the principles real quick if I can find what happened to it. Oh, here. No, that's Kylie Jenner. Oh, remember I said a bitch slap anybody. That is hilarious. I was only looking her up though because I just was trying to figure out who these people were. Honestly, I don't know who Travis Scott is. I mean, I'm glad, and I wish I still didn't know who he was. Okay, so basically, you know, all is mind. The universe is a sea of consciousness of which we are a single ego, an absurdly narrow vantage point from which to view the universe. But absurdity is one of the principal features of the universe of which we are a reflection, and so we are absurd creatures ourselves. The principle of correspondence. So you could put as above, so below into that category. Again, it refers to this reflection. Basically, and it's so there are lots of ways to think about this, and there are also lots of traditions that speak about this. The Zohar, or one of the rabbis that was like a Zohar master, whatever, you know, a scholar, Simon, I can almost remember his name, but anyways, he said, you know, Malkut is in Keter, and Keter is in Malkut, but after another fashion. And Keter means the crown, and Malkut is the foundation, or the earth, or matter. And so he's talking about how consciousness is in matter, and matter is in consciousness. And the way to explain that, I guess, would be that, you know, matter is basically made of consciousness, and consciousness is still produced by energy, which is basically the most subtle form of matter. And so that is the as above, so below. Also, if you shrink down to where you're the same size relative to the Earth, the nucleus of an atom, that you are relative to the Earth, there'll be about the same distance between where you're standing on the nucleus as there is now from the Earth to the Moon. So it's like the ratios are still the same. So as above, so below, as within, so without. And of course, the principle of vibration, everything is vibratory. You know, and again, when things cycle so fast that they, after a certain point, they start to seem as if they're still. Like if you look at a fan that's spinning really fast, it has almost become solid. And that is another example of the principle of correspondence. And what you will find is that all of these principles are manifest in all systems because they're universal laws, and universal laws are sort of like absolute truths. They are present in everything. And when I was younger, I used to talk about how, like a little kid, I would talk about how, you know, you could find certain concepts that always apply to everything, and then you know that you found an absolute truth because they'll never fail to apply. What goes up must come down. You know, you might have to twist it a little bit, but it describes everything. It applies to everything, right? So, because it's all reflections. And what another thing this helps you do is like these mystical cliches and axioms that are sort of meaningless if you just hear them. The Kabbalion helps to give them substance by filling out the details and revealing the underlying structure of that which these things are attempting to describe. And the principle of polarity, hate and love are but two extremes of one thing. They're poles in one frequency. And so is gender, and so is dark and light, and this is duality also. the principle of rhythm, it is possible to evade karma for a time, but if you know how the pendulum swings, and you know the rhythm of the cycles, the great ones and the small ones, the day, the minute, the hour, the second, but also the great cycles that are measured by the Egyptian, the Mayan calendar and others. You can anticipate revolutions, you can anticipate depressions, you can anticipate everything, and changes in your own life. You'll notice cycles over time that are consistent and that can be measured and then predicted, which allows you to make preparations. It is said that a lot of the adepts plan their lives out several lifetimes ahead every time. Principle of cause and effect. And remember that it is important to remember that all of these things are true and false. It is true and false to say that they are true and false. And that everything contains this contradiction, and that there's an exception to every rule, because the principle of cause and effect states that there's a cause for every effect. However, acausality is potentially a thing. It is not evident to us how it is that an entangled particle can be responding across the universe instantaneously from a causal point of view. And so acausal spooky action at a distance, as Einstein called it, is a thing, and it does appear that the law of cause and effect has been suspended. And this idea that these universal laws always apply. When you do an experiment in physics, you have very, 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 very large amounts of energy in very, very small spaces in very, very minute fractions of time, up to a trillionth of a second. And so you can do a billion of these experiments in a fraction of a second. And so 1 out of 100 billion times they'll get a different result. And that is because there's an exception to every rule. Chaos is always going to enter in and disrupt the system. You can think about it a few different ways, but exception to every rule, and nothing escapes the laws of creation. And finally, we have the principle of gender. Gender is in everything. You know, if a person asked me if they can just be whatever gender they want, I would have to say no. I mean, I don't have any issue with pretending or whatever, you know. I mean, you can whatever you want. But if you ask someone, why can't you, how old are you? And they say 32. Then you would say to them, well, why can't you be 105? Well, because I'm not biologically 105. That was actually the response that was given to a guy that asked someone. She said, well, why can't I just be whatever gender you want? And that's how he dealt with it. He said, well, how old are you? Why can't you just be... So my point is that gender isn't everything. And the reality is that we probably should have an infinite spectrum of names for genders. And it doesn't really come down to genitals. So I know I'm totally sort of contradicting myself, but such is the universe full of paradoxes. Because what I think actually is that there is like an individual that is constituted of some ratio of male and female energy to fulfill all of the potential possibilities of varied ratios, right? So there's women that are so masculine that they might as well be men. And men that are so feminine, they might as well be women, and there's all of the potential spectrum in between is filled. But aside from that, you know, we have plants that have different genders. We speak about space as being feminine. We talk about certain qualities of the masculine, you know, straight and cerebral, and you know, all of these things, and you know, curves, and water is feminine, and you know what I mean? We and it's because these things are actually made of an energy that is an actual fundamental constituent part of the universe. It's possible to get into trance states where you can speak from the point of view of just the general masculine or the general feminine if you're a woman. And so it's true that the gender is a fundamental constituent part of every part of the universe, everything in the universe. And then it goes on to talk about mental transmutation, which is the ability to transform mental energy from any type to any other type. As Aleister Crowley said, it is possible for the magician to come up with any type of energy that is required for him, and sacrifice is not necessary. That's another reason why all these people believing in all this blood sacrifice shit, it's just stupid, because you don't have to do that to get... You transmute energy. There's an inexhaustible, infinite supply of energy in the universe that can be transmuted into whatever you need it to be. So there's no reason to like kill something to take energy out of it. It's just pointless. And then the all is in the all. This speaks to the holographic nature of the universe, and that is all I've got for now because I'm literally losing my voice. But I hope that that was a good elucidation of the Kabbalion, and I hope that you guys like, share, support us on Patreon, where you can find premium content, and you can hit up our PayPal, Zelle, cryptocurrency wallets, or Cash App to help support us so we can keep making videos and keep trucking around the jungle. Our next stop is Tucoca, which is hotter and deeper in the jungle, lots more big anacondas. Hopefully I'll get some anaconda videos. And then probably on to Peru while we wait for Nagual's paperwork so that we can go back to California. So big stuff coming down the pipes. It's going to be scary to go back home, but I kind of want to, so I think we will. So thank you guys so much for spending this time with me, and we'll see you again very, very soon.